I don't want to record this video. I really don't. I don't think I have a place in this situation. But I feel like I need to speak about this. And I said over on Twitter that I would be making this video. I have been working on this for 2 weeks now. Most of the allegations part is not scripted. I don't feel like I should be scripting that part of the video. It should be my honest, realist thoughts about the situation at hand, what this means, why everything in this video is so important to me, and the reason behind everything that could have possibly brought us to the conclusion that we're at today. So, I will warn you, most of this video is scripted. The rest of the video, up to the allegations point, is not scripted. It will mostly be clips of Shelby and other victims speaking. It will not be me speaking. I'll be reading things off of other creators' platforms that have been said and all the information that I could possibly give you about the situation at hand. I know several videos have been made on this topic, and I feel like I don't want my video to stand out. I will be reiterating some of the facts, but I will also be putting in my own opinion, my own words, my own thoughts, my own conclusions. This isn't about me, though. This isn't about Wilbur. This isn't about his fan base. This is about the victims, the people that have been hurt, and the people that are hurting because of him. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoy this absolute train wreck of a video. I can't exactly say I never knew this was going to happen, nor that I didn't expect it in the slightest. No, it wasn't on my 2024 bingo card, and I genuinely like this creator and his music, but that reasoning makes me feel even more obligated to speak on the topic itself. Not just about this man and his allegations, but the psychology behind what could have led up to this from a content creator's perspective and reasoning, from a victim of abuse and trafficking from romantic partners, for other victims to not speak out. As such, there will be chapters to this video. If you want to skip to the allegations and discuss the general situation, you can jump to the chapter labeled The Allegations. If you want to stick around and listen to me talk about the psychology behind content creators and their fall from grace, then, stick around. Of course, mind the trigger warnings placed for you at the beginning of the video. If you cannot stomach the contents within this video, I highly recommend clicking off. It wasn't and isn't worth risking your health or safety. There will be no sugarcoating. There will be no jokes. This is not a subject I take lightly. With all that said, on to the first section of the video. According to SEMrush.com, content creation is the process of creating various forms of media that appeal to your target audience. It involves multiple steps, from generating an initial idea to promoting a published piece. Content creation falls under several subgenres of content, from vlogs, gaming, cooking, reactions, shock humor, horror, and even more. That being said, there can be billions of content creators out there, some of which nobody knows about. And all of them are generating a content for the masses to enjoy. It's entertainment by every means. Content creation has gone from a simple hobby for popular writers or actors to becoming accessible for all, given you have the right setup, space, and abilities to become a creator. Not only this, but there is psychology behind what seems like such an easy and simple hobby or job. It requires strengths, boundaries, and most importantly, time. Lots of time. But understanding everything that goes on behind the eyes of a content creator, behind the screens and personas, can be the key The impulse to create content often stems from a desire for self-expression. We all have unique experiences, opinions, and skills that we wish to communicate with others. Whether it's through thought-provoking tweets, a scenic Instagram post, or a detailed blog post, content creation allows us to manifest our inner world into a format that can be easily shared and consumed. A 2015 study found that social media users who frequently share updates do so as a form of self-presentation. The study revealed that the act of creating and sharing content on social media platforms helps individuals shape their digital identities and present themselves in a way that aligns with their real or ideal self. A lot of content creators indulge in creation for fame or satisfaction, and this is the fatal flaw of Wilbur Soot. His career could have possibly started with good intentions, but once the fame and greed gets to your mind, it can cloud your judgment to the point of making the line between a good choice and a bad choice blur, to the point of becoming unrecognizable. I say greed because this man is worth an estimated $2.01 million US as of 2024, which is a lot of money. I'll expand more on Wilbur himself in the next section. As for the general psyche behind content creators, the rush of blowing up on the internet is short-lived, even becoming annoying after a while. Then, when you never get fame or attention for the things you work hard for, it's soul-crushing, and it leads to a lot of creators quitting altogether. Some people also, generally, don't have the patience or time to make content at all, or use it as an escape from reality, as do many viewers and indulgers in this content. Once the rush of going viral wears off, you're left feeling incomplete and hungry for more of that sweet, sweet fame. It stops being about the joy of creating. It starts being about being famous and getting the attention you crave from the internet. You become dependent on clicks, likes, subs, views, and then you become dependent on the money you make doing the content you want. It seems like a relaxing and easy job when, in reality, it can be just as much of a nightmare as any regular 9 to 5. Content creation isn't for the weak of mind, body, or soul. It's a space filled with the adoration and attention from fans you love, with a lurking wall of hate beating on your subconscious. The anger and hate from the internet can make a lot of people very upset and possibly suicidal, which makes being a content creator even harder, especially when going viral. You won't always reach your target audience. The people you surround yourself with are very important, and surrounding yourself with strangers who claim to love you isn't the same as having fake friends. Coming to terms with that and limiting interactions with your audience directly can prevent some of the more hateful messages you can receive from other people. You don't know everyone on the internet. Your fans aren't your friends or your Trojan horse. They're people on the internet who, in some cases, look up to you. Which leads me to my next point. Managing what you say on the internet can be tricky, especially with the differing opinions and crossfire of the internet. A belief you could have can be different from someone else's, no matter how unproblematic, and suddenly the whole world hates you. This kind of fear of rejection that can develop within a content creator causes them to become irrational and afraid, surrounding themselves with people of differing opinions that cause discourse within a creator's community, and they just never address it because they're afraid of picking a side, because they'll lose their fame. It's not about joy for Wilbur Soot. It's about money, fame. Wilbur Soot, real name William Patrick Gold, is a 27-year-old English singer-songwriter, streamer, and content creator. He's most famously known for his English rock band Lovejoy, in which he is a lead songwriter, singer, and rhythm guitarist, as well as his participation in a Minecraft survival multiplayer server, also called an SCP, titled The Dream SMP, which ran from April 24th, 2020 to April 10th, 2023, and was closed due to several key factors, such as some of the server's key players leaving to work on other projects, with some even creating their own servers, such as Quackity's QSMP, paraphrased from thisisafk.com. The server featured 36 people, including Gold himself. He was born on September 14, 1996, according to several sources, although this could be false, as he often lies about his birthday and does not celebrate it. William's first channel was documented to be called Setting 66, created in January of 2008, which was a combined vlog channel with a friend of his named Ben. This channel had 13,000 subscribers until it was shut down in May of 2009, and his current channel that's up is his gaming channel, created March of 2019, which amasses 6.11 million subscribers at the time of writing the script. He streams on his Twitch as well, which has amassed 4.7 million subscribers. William was born in Suffolk, England, but he grew up in Brighton, East Sussex. I'm sorry if I'm saying these wrong, I don't live in Britain. His parents were divorced during middle school, so he lived with his father, sleeping on a futon on the floor due to him not having a bed. He attended Sussex Downs College in Lewes, England, and got his bachelor's in editing and post-production in 2020. He is a hypochondriac, has Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and has a weak sense of taste that he has had since birth. His ex-girlfriend, Shelby Grace, is a 30-year-old American YouTuber and Twitch streamer who joined YouTube in March of 2007. She was born in New Jersey, being the youngest of 4 children, 2 sisters, and 1 brother. She was a quiet, shy kid who wanted to be an archaeologist. Her father was a fireman, and her mother was briefly in the Air Force. Shelby was also a Girl Scout all the way through elementary school, achieving the highest level in 8th grade. Shelby's channel has amassed 985,000 subscribers at the time of writing. She uses she-they pronouns, but for the sake of consistency, I'll primarily be using she-her or addressing Shelby by name. Shelby and William were in a relationship during an unspecified amount of time, of which became the main focus of this entire video. Shelby recently came out about a week ago in a now deleted VOD titled Talking About Something More Serious on her Twitch channel, Shovel. She explained that William constantly bit her to the point of bruises and would even prod the bruises, commenting about how it looked like he abused her, on top of several other things. William gaslit, neglected, abused, and financially used Shelby. She then made comments about how he was considered a danger to others, not just Shelby. William biting people isn't exactly unknown or foreign, considering the fact that we've seen him bite people several times on video. He's bitten Tommy Innit, Nikki, and several more people. He claims it's an affection thing that he's been doing since his childhood, and even has gotten his mother to back him up on this fact. But instead of me talking, I think I'll just leave the words up to Shelby herself. So, without further ado, here's a few clips from the stream.
When I hear about physical abuse, I think of hitting. I think of hitting and punching. So I thought that this wasn't violent enough to be abuse. I thought that it was just like a constant accident that he kept hurting me. But he's not hitting me. And it didn't start as something that he did to hurt me. He had this habit of biting, which is so weird to me now, but he said that he had had this habit since he was a kid, and even his mom said that that was true. And he said it was just affectionate, and that might have been, I think that might have been true maybe at the start, but I also feel that I have good reason to believe that every part of it was a lie, but that's just my personal opinion. But he did mention something early that I should have taken as a red flag. And he wanted to make sure that I was okay with him biting me because he didn't want me to come back later and say that he abused me, which I thought was really weird considering he had never hurt me before. And so why would I call it abuse? And why was he thinking about that? And I thought he was being sweet, checking on me to make sure that I was still comfortable. But of course I was, because he hadn't hurt me. And why would I think he ever would? And then he did for the first time by accident. And I don't specifically remember the actual first time that he bit me too hard by accident because I didn't think that it would be significant. I thought that it would only happen once. And he started biting me more and more over a period of time, sort of throughout the whole relationship. And accidents of him biting too hard and really hurting me happened more and more frequently. But he always seemed genuinely sorry, and he decided that he didn't want to keep accidentally hurting me. So we were going to use a safe word. so he could learn where my limit was, where my pain tolerance ended. And saying that out loud now doesn't sound like that's not very sound logic. But at the time, I thought he cared about not hurting me. But in reality, it's like, why are you biting so hard? And why do you have to bite so hard? And it shouldn't be that hard of a problem to stop. And he disguised it as this really quirky part of our relationship and was so comfortable sharing it with his friends to the point that he would do it in front of them. He thought it was this really funny story to tell and a good bit to take my arm and bite me in front of everybody until I literally shout in pain. And then I have to laugh it off because I'm so embarrassed and I don't want to cause a scene in front of all of our friends. And I'm sure everyone was a little bit uncomfortable, but as long as I was saying that it was fine, nobody really felt like they needed to be concerned, and that's not anybody's fault because I was lying. I was lying, and it wasn't fine because I would go home later and I'd tell him how uncomfortable I was, how much I didn't like being hurt all the time. And I needed him to really stop biting so hard. I didn't like it, and I tried telling him over and over again because he asked him to stop again. This time he said, this is who he is. He isn't going to change.
Speaking out against somebody with such a huge fan base and such a huge amount of followers is always going to be terrifying. 6 million people that you have to publicly discuss about the person that they idolize and the person that they follow is a bad person. Shovel's reasoning for not wanting to speak out is entirely reasonable. It's not outlandish by any means, and she shouldn't be shamed for not speaking out. This may have been a long time ago, but it still happened. And people need to know that it happened. Shovel's entire situation is heartbreaking. It's nothing more than just heartbreaking. And this happening to a kind and well-meaning individual, it's not the first time, and it won't be the last.
Especially his wording, I became really good at remembering because he was constantly contradicting himself, and I would notice, but most of the time it wasn't worth picking a fight over, but he would fight me on it sometimes because I would point it out, and he would insist that he had never said the thing that he said. He definitely did say. And then he would say something like, how are you so sure you're remembering correctly? Why are you always right? And he definitely said the things that I heard him say and other people heard him say. So he had now at this point weaponized the safe word and was using it to ensure that I was hurt and on a constant basis. And he wasn't sorry anymore. I couldn't even tell you the last time he had apologized for doing it anymore because now sometimes he would bite me and I would yell out the safe word because it hurt so bad, and he'd clamp down even harder. And just for a second, just for good measure, before letting go. And sometimes I'd say the safe word and he'd grind his teeth down on my skin. And sometimes he'd smile after. Like a gloating grin. And during this time, I was filled with so much anxiety all the time that I was constantly nauseous, gagging daily, on occasion throwing up because of the pit that was in my stomach. I never told him about that, though. I was going and running away quietly to throw up in the toilet and rejoin our group of friends. But I felt so unwanted and ignored. And I would tell him that, and then he would reassure me that he wanted to be together and he loved me. He loved me more than I loved him, even. He would always insist that that was true, like that. I love you more. But he was like really serious about it. And looking back, I do believe that the way I was swept off my feet at the beginning of this relationship was 100% love bombing.
Now, I was not entirely sure what love bombing was going into this, but after looking into it, I can see that she's very right, that what Wilbur did was definitely 100% love bombing. And there is no denying that it was love bombing. Love bombing is when you continuously drop these big and really in-depth love confessions on your partner. Things like wanting to get married or have kids or other things that you'd normally wait a little while in a relationship to ask for. Do it right at the beginning is love bombing. I'm not entirely versed on the topic, so don't take my words to heart, but it seems accurate to me.
He found out I was single, waited a few weeks to reach out, and then we started a friendship. And then that friendship turned romantic, and then he made these huge romantic gestures. He wrote me the most beautiful love letter that I had ever read. He called me his soulmate. He talked about forever 1 month in. He told me he hadn't been in a relationship in 5 years. He thought he could never find love again before he met me. He said he wanted someone to grow with. He wanted to be a dad. He had all his names picked out. And I didn't have a preference because my feeling of it is if the timing is right and with the right person, I could. But if that doesn't work out in time or the time, I'm not super pressed about it. But I started opening my mind up to the idea with him because it seemed so important to him. And I kept trying to talk to him to figure out where he was later on when I could tell things like were declining. And now all of a sudden he's telling me he's not sure he wants kids at all. In fact, he has never been attached to the idea of kids. And I told him that isn't what he said before. And he said he's allowed to change his mind. And I think marriage is one of them. So I brought that up next. And I asked if he still wanted marriage. He said he wanted to marry me. And then he said, now, I'm not quote, I'm not the commitment guy. You know that. I didn't know that. Why are you dating me? In fact, he was telling me the exact opposite every day. He would tell me he still wanted to be together. He wanted to work on all of the problems. He wanted me at the end of everything. He did not want to break up. He made that very clear. And I have, though, caught him in lies before, but usually it was small stuff. And I didn't want to, it wasn't anything that ever seemed worth rocking the boat over. Everything reached a breaking point when he was about to leave for an extended period of time. We were not going to see each other very much, a few days out of every few months. And now suddenly he is dumping all of these problems that he has been having feelings about all of this time later. At one point he said he's been feeling this way a couple months. At another point he says he's been feeling this way for 6 months, immediately contradicting himself in the same conversation. And with no time to do anything about it. I literally arrived for 3 days for this conversation to happen and then leave. So no time to fix any of the problems all of a sudden because there are 3 days before he leaves. And he insisted he did not want to break up. So he was expecting me to have a solution somehow magically. And I gave a number of solutions that would have a way forward for us to be together. But he refused to make any compromise whatsoever. And he said that the relationship was starting to feel like a responsibility towards the end. Also his words. So it wasn't a responsibility the whole rest of the time to him. And he was at this point basically flaunting that he would never prioritize me over anything. And I wasn't even asking for literally even the bare minimum. I was asking for so little. And I was watching him give exactly what I was needing in the relationship all over the place to anybody else who just happened to ask and just wasn't me. So, and he was never going to prioritize me over anything that would give him more fame or money. In fact, he said that himself. That was exactly why he was not going to compromise at all for a solution for us to be together, because he said he wanted to see how much fame and money he could get. And I just thought we wanted to be together. I thought that's what we both wanted because that's what he was still saying he wanted too. But then he also admitted to me that he had grown to resent me. And I have to be thankful that he said that bit out loud. A lot of these bits he said out loud because that was the last push that I needed to get myself out. He had grown resentful, which I also pointed out that there was no reason to feel that way. And he admitted that there was no reason for him to feel that way either. I think that it was because I'm someone who can communicate how I feel. But I don't know. I have a lot of theories and reasons why I believe things happened the way that they did and why he was lying all of the time. But he was resentful of me, was causing me physical harm every day, multiple times a day, despite me telling him over and over again to stop. He wasn't going to change, and he wasn't going to end the relationship. He was going to keep hurting me, and it was possibly going to escalate even further. So I broke up with him, and I didn't even want to, because I couldn't even see for such a long time after what it really was that had happened, that he had abused me. And in fact, we left things as we want to be friends, and he can never imagine not speaking to me again. And then he never spoke to me again. Outside of like a couple of exchanges where I needed to ask for my clothes to be shipped. So at least I got my clothes back. I had a whole closet full. However, he did throw away all of my other things without saying a word to me about it. Hundreds of dollars of things from my office were trashed without a word. And I didn't block him till 10 months later because I wanted an open door still. I really thought I wanted to be his friend. But I don't feel that way anymore. I mean, he did admit that he felt like he couldn't say it any sooner. Like there was just no possible way to say how he was feeling sooner than the absolute last possible chance, like not even a chance, because 3 days before he left, that was actually a lie too also. He didn't leave for another week after I left. He brought me in, had this 3-day conversation. He was supposed to leave, and then he stayed for another week before he left with all of the friends that I was also meant to see, but he had lied to me about the dates too. He tried to push me away any way he knew would hurt me, and he knew all of the ways that would hurt me the most, and he knew he was hurting me. There was no way that he didn't know because of the safe word that he made. And he just didn't care. He was hurting me and he didn't care. And even looked like he was enjoying it sometimes. And I can look back now and I can see all these instances that were really major red flags. There was this one time that he pinned me down and asked me to try my absolute hardest to get him off of me. And I couldn't do it, obviously. And he said something to make the point that he was so much stronger than me that I wouldn't be able to fight him back. Fight back against what? What do you mean? You don't say shit like that to people? That's insane. And I was also sexually assaulted by my first boyfriend, and he knew that. He had stopped giving anything to the relationship, and he said that why was because he was just waiting for things to change on their own. He said he also didn't have the time or energy anyway to do the things that I was asking for, but then would constantly make any bit of time and energy for anybody and anything but me. And he would say he wanted more quality time. So then I would try to arrange things for us to do online because we were long distance, but then he would complain that he doesn't want to spend all of his time on the computer anymore. And then we'd be there in person, and all he wants to do is stay inside, play games on his computer, watch movies. He doesn't want to go out. And I'm not saying any of this next part to be mean. He lived in filth like I have never seen. And I've seen filth. This was the worst. He would spill things on the floor and literally never clean them up. He got an ant infestation once and wasn't going to do anything about it because he said, bugs are normal in British houses. So I had to buy ant killer. And he wouldn't clean his bathroom for months and months and months, but would constantly complain about how bad it smelled. And I would tell him, that's mold. It's mold. He'd complain about being tired all the time too, which I don't know if that was a lie or not, but mold will do that too. But he would insist that it wasn't somehow without having cleaned in months, but it's not mold. When I met him, he was washing his clothes without detergent. Just it wasn't using that at all. And I don't know for how long before I met him. He was just running it with water and then hanging it on his filthy kitchen cabinets. And I felt bad. I felt bad because I felt like he needed someone to help him learn how to be cleaner. I thought he just didn't know how. And I listened to all of the struggles of his upbringing. And I was like, he just doesn't know how. Someone just needs to show him. And then I found out that he said he doesn't clean at all when I'm not there because he just waits for me to get there to do it. And I only found out about that after we broke up because he said it behind my back. I was doing all of the cleaning and laundry for him. Also, I had a separate bathroom. I want to make that clear. I wasn't using that bathroom. I had a separate bathroom that I cleaned for myself. I had cleaning supplies. I don't think he even actually knew I had cleaning supplies in there. But I had my own bathroom. All the cleaning, all the laundry, all of it, I was paying for. All of the like paper towels, like soap, all of that only stayed in the house so long as I was buying it. I would arrive and there would just not be toilet paper in the whole house. There were paper towels instead. And who knows for how long too. I was paying for food more than half the time because he would often push me into ordering food for us, even if I had paid for the last meal or the meal before that. And I'm of the opinion now that I shouldn't have been paying for any food. None at all. But I wanted to at least, I thought I was being equal by at least doing like a back and forth. But I ended up paying for food more often than just going back and forth anyway. And he would do this to his friends all the time too. But I was also paying for every plane ticket and the cat sitter, which cost roughly the amount of a plane ticket to England. And he never offered to help me pay after the couple of times he did come here to visit me because he paid for the flights that we would both take. But that only happened twice at the very beginning. I have actually had a friend tell me that this is financial abuse, but I don't know enough about that to say for myself. But I was telling him that I couldn't afford it all by myself all the time because I was losing money. I was never able to work properly there. And he wasn't traveling at all to see me anymore, even though he said he would. That was like the basis of our entire relationship starting off. So then he agreed to pay for the cat sitter so that it would be basically paying half the cost of my travels. And he did that once. And then never did it again, despite many more months of dating. And I was traveling often. I had to. Because he was worried that we weren't spending enough quality time together. And then all of the time that he would have ever extra, he would choose to not spend it on me because there was an available choice. And he chose not to spend it with me often. And I did everything short of just up and move there, which I was willing to do the whole time. And I told him that I was willing to do it. And he knew, but he insisted that I don't. He insisted not to. He was planning to move here. That was supposed to happen first. And then at the end of the relationship, he said maybe things would have been different if I lived there. If I lived there. Like I had said I would the whole time, and he insisted I don't. Maybe that could have saved the relationship. And I say all of this because I believe that people like this are genuinely dangerous. I believe he is dangerous. He was willing to lie. He was willing to do harm to someone he claimed to love more than anyone he has ever loved. His actions escalated. And I don't think that I'll be the last person that he hurts. And I felt like sharing my story was really important to warn people. I want people to see the signs that I refused to. I want you to listen to your body and get out as soon as possible. Tell your friends the truth and let them help you. I really thought I couldn't, because I had been sexually assaulted in a previous relationship, I just thought I was so much smarter to never, and I was like, if someone ever laid their hands on me, I'd leave immediately. It would never happen a second time. But it just kind of happened so slowly over time and got worse and worse and worse until the point where there's no way to deny the fact that he was hurting me and he knew and didn't care. That's just the kind of thing that I keep repeating to myself when I'm like, but was it bad enough? It wasn't violent enough. But I was being hurt multiple times every single day, days and days and days and days for a month at a time in a row. And I'm not even speaking on most, because I did touch on other things, but I am not even speaking on most of the other things that...
Since this video is getting kind of long, I have a feeling that I will have to cut some of this short because it will be an absolute nightmare to export all of this. So, my thoughts on Shovel's mindset, I suppose, are very similar to my own thoughts from when I was being abused by partners. I would tell myself that things weren't as bad as they could have been, and my therapist always tells me, you shouldn't be saying that, you shouldn't even be thinking that, because it was bad, and your situation is just as bad as everyone else's. Or as bad as everyone else's could be. So, I just want to put that out there, that your situation may not seem as bad as Shovel's, or it may not be as bad as mine, but even if it is still bad, you need to be worried about it. And that is a fact. Next, I want to discuss Alice, who recently came out about her own experiences with Wilbur and all of the stuff that he did to her. So I'll be reading from her post on Twitter instead of speaking on my own words, because I don't have enough time to do that. Hello, I'm Alice. I dated Wilbur back in 2019, and I wanted to speak out about my experience. I felt like I couldn't talk about this sooner because I was scared of his public influence and the potential backlash from fans, but now hearing Shelby's story, seeing the support she's been shown, and admiring her bravery, I finally feel safe to break my silence about our relationship. Back in 2019, at the beginning of the relationship, I was immediately shown a lot of affection very reminiscent of love bombing. One of his close friends at the time warned me in confidence to be careful, as they had seen people get hurt in the past, but I believe he was good inside. After a month, the honeymoon period was over, and it was like I was dating a completely different person. I was told to keep our relationship a secret, but was framed in a way that implied that it was for my safety, as if it was in my best interest to keep this a secret despite my own feelings. I believe that he enjoyed having control in the relationship. I would have to hide as he streamed and sit silently in the corner of his room waiting for him to go offline. He would say condescending things to me about my interests and the type of content I created, as if he just didn't take it, or me, seriously, and would only be enthusiastic about his future plans with music and desire for fame. I never felt like he was encouraging towards me or any of my goals, and in the last few months, he made me feel extremely unlovable and unwanted. I had suffered with self-harm tendencies in 2019. He ignored the marks on my own body and only took interest in retelling his own life struggles. I also experienced the biting habit, which has already been elaborated on by Shelby. After a while, I noticed that it was always me putting effort into the relationship, so I decided one day to not be the one to message first, just to see what would happen, and he never spoke to me again, so the relationship dissolved. Skipping ahead to 2021, we had spoken briefly over an Instagram DM about the relationship and meeting up for closure on about things went in 2019. I gave him a second chance and met up hoping to get some answers. We walked through densely populated areas of town where we got stopped multiple times by his fans. In hindsight, this felt very intentional, almost as if it was to flaunt his influence and desirability to me. We went to a bar to talk, and he then proceeded to get me very drunk. He got us an Uber back to his house. I ended up blacking out in his bed due to the alcohol, but the last thing I remember was him non-consensually removing my clothes. The next morning, he proceeded to tell me that I must be a lesbian because I wasn't interested in him. These past years have been extremely difficult to navigate because of this. I couldn't go online without seeing him everywhere, and being adored as a soft boy who heroically respects women and mental health issues. I couldn't even go into conventions to enjoy my own hobbies without seeing people dressed up as him. Shelby was right. Staying quiet wasn't bringing me any peace. It was only keeping his. Yes, you heard that right. He's a rapist. He sexually assaulted a woman while she was drunk and blacked out, and then proceeded to accuse her of being a lesbian because she wasn't interested in him. Now, how f***ed do you have to be to say something like that to someone? Just pause and think about that for a second. It's disgusting. Next, I want to go on about his horrific apology. I really don't want to read it, but I'm going to anyway, because I feel like it needs to be said, and it needs to be read out loud, because it's just as horrendous as all the accusations floating about him. In the past week, a series of allegations have been made over my conduct from an ex-girlfriend. I want to emphasize that, although I feel it fair to offer my perspective, this person's feelings are completely valid. I've taken my time sharing this statement as I wanted to process and respond respectfully and with the hope to gain a deeper understanding for the situation. During our relationship's final months, I regrettably became slavish, disrespectful, and selfish. These actions caused a lot of pain to my ex-girlfriend, and I've since sought therapy to address these behaviors, making significant lifestyle changes to rectify my past actions. I've come to realize that how much my past behavior has hurt this person, but I truly, compassionately believe that I've made great strides from the person I once was, and hope I can continue to grow and improve on this trajectory. The allegation of abuse, particularly in the form of biting, deeply shocked me. Throughout our relationship, I understood from our numerous conversations and text message exchanges on the subject that this behavior was consensual, playful, and reciprocally enjoyed. I truly believe those personal message exchanges reflect mutual affection and understanding. Out of respect for her, I choose not to publish them, and I emphasize my perspective is not shared to diminish or invalidate anyone's feelings. Instead, I share it in hopes that I can offer a genuine, fair, and relevant insight into my understanding of the situation. While I may perceive our interactions differently, I recognize that this person has processed and expressed feelings of hurt. I want to extend my sincerest apologies for any pains I've caused. I am fully committed to understanding and addressing her concerns going forward. I hope my perspective sheds light on the situation without directing from its message. I am dedicated to earning and maintaining the trust of those around me, and I hope I continue to be held to these high standards I wish to attain and maintain. Obviously, Shelby did not accept his apology, and she is not obligated to. Accepting an apology is when the apology is actually good, in my opinion. I think that's all I really want to cover. This video is getting astronomically long, way longer than I thought it would be. And I'm running out of space, time, and most importantly, gigabytes to hold this entire video. I really hope that it's up to everyone's standards. I didn't exactly flaunt this message out on any of my social media because I didn't know if I was going to complete this project or not, if I'm going to be completely honest. I have a history of starting things and never finishing them. So I finished this video. I'm actually really proud of myself for completing this video. I feel like it's a topic that really needs to be discussed, and I really need to explain my thoughts on. I'm sorry if I sound slobbish, tired, or even a little bit, awful. My thoughts derailed a lot when I got to the more feeling related parts instead of the scripted parts. I feel like that's where my true feelings really started to come out. This topic is something I get very emotional over, if you can't already tell. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you didn't, I'm so sorry. But if you did, I'm glad that I have informed you in some way, some shape or some form. And I'm glad that you have heard me out to the end. Go support Shelby, most importantly, and go support Alice and any other victims who come out later about the situations that they have had with Wilbur. That is all I have to say. Believe abuse victims. Never, ever, 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 ever not believe them. Thank you.